My name's Kamna, and I'm here with...
I'm Jamie.
I'm Kevin.
And they're from I Killed the Prom Queen.
I try and play guitar.
I try to sing. It's like it's a screaming thing. I don't know what you want me to say.
You guys just put out a new record, Beloved. How was the writing process for that?
There was interviews around the time when we were starting to be a band again that we were like, yeah, you know, we're knuckling down, we're doing all this hard work and stuff. In reality, we weren't. We were trying.
We were just eating.
We had a lot of half songs for a long time that a lot of that just totally got scrapped into the bin forever. It was probably the last month before we got into the studio that we really knuckled down, and I'd say 9-ish of those songs popped up around in the last month. We just got in a roll because we were like, we have to do this, we've got to knuckle it down. So there was one week where every day almost we were coming up with the majority of a song in the jam room together, which was different because in the past it was like one of us had come with a whole song and we did that for like Jonah had a half an album, I had half an album. This time it was like, we really need to
have
work
no
together
album.
and stuff. And so this time it was, I think I only wrote 3 songs, Jonah only wrote 3 songs, and then everything else was like a riff of mine, a riff of Jamie's, a riff of Jonah's, someone else's idea for something else, and vice versa, just all working together. And in that way it made it a bit fresher because it wasn't just one person's idea.
God damn, it's cold.
Sorry.
It was a bit of like everyone had their own say and we worked on things till everyone was happy, rather than just me going, this is how it all has to sound, Jonah just going, this is all how it has to sound. So in that way it made it more democratically cool between us all, I guess. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's spot on. Lyrically, the whole thing was written in the studio, so it was a nightmare for me.
So how did getting back together, forming again, getting off hiatus and all that, how did that even come about?
When we pulled the pin on it initially, a few of us were pretty burnt out at the time, but we also were growing as a band. Like we were starting to tour overseas more and stuff, so there was always a feeling between everyone that we hadn't got to the point that the band was capable of. That's a police car.
America.
And so it was, you know, we were always getting overseas offers and stuff. More and more people were finding out about the group. But yeah, just timing at that point wasn't really on the cards. So I think it was about 2010-ish that me and Jonah started talking again about doing it as, you know, maybe 1 or 2 tours a year because there was so much demand. Didn't really think anything was going to come of it. We did a first tour back in 2011 with Jamie jumping in, and at that point it was still always going to be like a part-time kind of thing. I guess
Jonah
when
was in Bring Me.
Yeah, and then I guess when that soured or whatever, and it became apparent like he wanted to do Prom again full time, it was kind of like, all right, I guess we're jumping back into this. So yeah, it was only like sometime last year or so that it was like, oh, we're going to be a band and be living out of suitcases again for our whole life. So it was just coming to it again as adults was a lot different than if we were real young, and like a lot of new young bands are just like, wow, we're going to be like this, and we're
already jaded and hate the world.
Seen a lot of stuff, so we're just kind of like, yep, all right, I guess we'll do this. It wasn't like too dramatic or anything. And it's probably helped our outlook with touring a lot more now that we're just not, you know, looking at things through the magnifying glass or anything. It's just like, this is our hobby, but it's snowballing into more and more successful as it goes. So we're just appreciative that people still dig the band and stuff. Give a shit.
How did you get recruited? Because it's not like you had any prior work with Prom Queen.
Not like Prom Queen, no. I was already really...
When you had a Nazem shirt on.
Yeah. I had good first impressions with Kev, apparently, but...
In 2005.
Yeah, I've been friends with the guys for a long time, and actually right before they went on hiatus, I tried out for the band, and instead of going on tour with them, I chose to go on a holiday and then I got back and they'd broken up. But yeah, so I apologize to everyone for that. But yeah, what was that 2000, like through 2010 and the start of 2011, I started getting emails from Jonah and talking to the dudes, and now I'm in Delaware.
How has the not side projects, the other bands that the rest of the members have been part of and working on, how has that kind of played into the writing process for Beloved, and how has that influenced the sound of Prom Queen now?
I think Jonah being with Horizon for so long just delayed the record, but I guess in terms of the songs, there's a lot more sort of soundscapes in the background and that sort of thing. I think that's a pretty big Horizon type influence. But the only other dudes in the band that have had something going on are Kevin and our new bass player Ben, because they do a band called In Trenches. So
I had looked at it almost the opposite, as in the bands that we did were purposely so removed from this style of metalcore that coming back to the writing for it was totally fresh, and we hadn't already been doing this for another 7 years or whatever. So it wasn't like just going, all right, I've got to keep doing this. It was, especially when I started writing my parts for this, I hadn't done that fast style of guitaring for a long time, or even really listened to anything of the style. So it took a little bit getting used to that, because my other band's a lot sludgier metal. But that made it kind of more interesting, because apart from something like Between the Buried and Me or something, I'm not really on the pulse of any similar style metalcore playing.
none of us really are, though.
None of us do, really. That's just like...
I just listen and enjoy playing pop punk. Shane, our drummer, enjoys playing pop punk, but enjoys listening to 90s hits. And fuck knows what Jonah's interested in. That changes every single day.
And then me and Ben are just into gloomy things, just sad,
yeah, just
gloom.
depressing.
Music for the Recently Deceased was 2006, so that was a completely different style of metalcore. I think that was the height of metalcore, actually. It's just gotten progressively worse and worse, except for the very rare good bands still, and that's what gave me a lot of hope when I saw Prom Queen was coming back. So are you trying to...
Did they let you down?
No.
Oh, cool.
Is that something that you are striving to do, is kind of bring that sound back and integrate it with the newer stuff? Or, I mean, what's your ambition there?
As you said perfectly, we wrote that album, I think, March of 2005. It just didn't come out till 2006, so we were all still really young. I think I was still a teenager at that point. And coming back to it now, obviously we weren't, every sort of new band has 8-string guitars, and they're doing, trying to sound like Meshuggah did in 2001 for some reason, which they're admittedly my favorite band, but I don't like any of the bands that try and sound like them now. So we wanted to make sure we wanted to make sure it still was, straight away you could tell it was the dark Euro harmonies that we were guitar-wise all the time. The Soil Work, Dark Drawing Coolly, In Flames influence that was on Music for the Recently Deceased and the music before that. But as musicians, we actually got a bit better at playing, so all the ideas that were just kind of like on the fly things on the old album, or we weren't technically capable of doing the full big picture, I think we captured it a little bit more this time, just from 9 years in between or whatever it is. In our mind, it's the next step. I don't know if it's a big jump. It's hard to look at it from the outside. So yeah, it was definitely important that we kept it with that same flow, but a little bit fresh, to try and still stay current.
So what's in the next few months for Prom Queen? Any more U.S. tours? Because last time I saw you guys was at a bowling alley in New Jersey.
That was a great tour.
And can we expect bigger tours, smaller shows? I mean, what's in the books?
I know we personally prefer these type of shows, just from, well, all of us, especially coming from a hardcore background or whatever, it's just a lot more energy. The bigger dates that we're playing, we just got off a festival run in Australia where you've got 30 feet between you and the crowd, and it's just,
It sucks.
it's, you know, people get into it and it's cool looking at it, a sea of people, or when we do the Eurofest where there's 10, 20, 30,000 people or something, they'll like look cool in theory, but it's not the same energy. So something like tonight where people can jump up in his face and just we feed better off the crowd or whatever. They're a lot more fun. So these off dates are my favourite times of the tours.
Big shows are just cool to get photos of and go home and show your family. You're like, oh, this is what I do. Look how cool I am.
As for the next few months, we're going to be back here a lot this year. We're going to be here in Europe more than we are in Australia. So we go to Europe a couple of weeks after this tour with the same bands, Devil Wears Prada and Ghost Inside, and we do the UK after that and some little festivals.
And then we are coming back,
to
the States.
So
yeah, you're going to see a bunch of us. You'll be sick of us.
We're basically going to be a local band. I don't know where we're going to... I remember when we first came out, we considered ourselves a half Florida band because we'd crash at Evergreen Terrace's house in Jacksonville in 2004. I don't know where we'll home base this time, but yeah.
Probably Irvine, California.
How has Take Action been? Because I know that you're currently on tour for that, and this was one of the off dates, in fact.
Yeah, so it's been good. I mean, it's great to be on tour with the Ghost Inside because we're really good friends with them. And obviously we're getting to know Danger Kids and the Devil Wears Prada, so that's cool. Considering we're going to be on tour with Prada for another month. So the shows have been good. To be honest, the reactions we've been getting to newer stuff that's only been out here for a few weeks has been pretty mind-blowing for me. Like, to see people already know the words and that sort of thing so far from home, like, I'm over the moon with how it's going, to be honest. Yeah, it's been great.
If you want to donate us vegan cakes, we're always open
bring
to
us
that.
food. Go Flyers, fuck the Rangers. Kev's single, ready to mingle. Come at him, ladies. Woo!
Thanks.